Now, what did you have for breakfast?
I had a mixture of 2 kinds of cereal, cold cereal and milk, and I had coffee with almond milk in it.
Okay. Did anyone hold a gun to your head? Were you coerced into mixing those 2 cereals together in any fashion? Or did you make the conscious decision?
I made the decision.
Okay. Why did you mix those 2 particulars?
Well, I get bored if it's one cereal. So, and they add something different. Each of them adds something different to the mix.
Do you always mix your cereal?
Not always, but sometimes.
Why particularly this day did you mix those 2 cereals?
Well, one box was almost empty.
Why wasn't it Fruit Loops instead of? Why did you decide on those cereals?
Those were the boxes I had.
She ate the Fruit Loops.
So, back to cereal. I want you to kind of think about the choices of cereals that are usually in your realm of decision when you go shopping.
Okay.
And I want you to be conscious of these cereals that you're thinking of.
Okay. Are you gonna like?
I want you to think deeply about, if we can find like the deep reason behind why it was this cereal and not Fruit Loops, or why it wasn't Total.
Oh, okay. Yes, because I try to eat healthy, and I try to, and I just want a little bit of something. I don't want too much.
Okay. Now, it really does feel like we make conscious decisions in our day-to-day life. And this feeling of free will, I'd like to talk about, is more or less an illusion, because all of our decisions are based off of events, circumstances, and situations that existed prior to any of our influence. And we might we might be able to reduce it down to like one particular reason. Like Pat, you were saying, well, why did you choose the cereal? Because you like something healthy, right? Like, we can all come up with some subtle narrative, but it doesn't really explain like why she chose that particular cereal. Like, why didn't have the why didn't have the other effect? Like, why didn't she buy Fruit Loops because I had healthy cereal the other way. Maybe I would mix it up like that. So you didn't choose who your parents were, when you were born, what time in history you were born, or your genetic makeup. And just like how the physical world is determined, why do we assume that we have free will too? Because if our decisions are based off of our mental states, and mental states are just or brain states, and brain states are biological states, and inherently biological states are physical states, how are we to find free will in this? Like, if I were to have you just think of any cereal ever, forget the ones that you eat or in the cupboard, but just think of cereal. Go ahead and come up with them. What did you think of?
Well, I was thinking I could have had Cocoa Puffs or something.
Yeah, so you decided on Cocoa Puffs. Why? You know that Total is a cereal, right?
Right.
Was Total part of your thinking process in that?
Not just that.
Are you free to decide that which did not occur to you? I mean, if you think about it, thoughts just arise in consciousness. We are not authoring them. I mean, we all took the time to come here tonight to listen to what each of us had to say. And I'm here talking to you about free will, but as you're trying to follow along, your brain's just kind of saying things, There's competition, to what I'm saying. Haven't you noticed? And what your brain is spewing out might not have anything to do with what I'm saying, or what Ken had to say, or what John had to say. I'm talking to you about free will right now, but in your head you might be thinking, man, I should probably stop drinking so much coffee. Like, where did that come from? We're not authoring our own thoughts. They just arise in consciousness. I mean, if we were the author of our own thoughts, that would mean that we would have to know what we're going to think before we think it. Just as our intentions are the exact same way. I mean, just because we can't measure, just because currently we don't have the technology to measure all of the interconnections in our brain, in theory, we could pinpoint it and reduce it down to our origins. But think about this. There is literally, there are more connections in 1 cubic centimeter of brain tissue than there are stars in our galaxy. And you did not design your brain in any manner. So these connections are mysterious to what leads to our decisions. I mean, I'm sure, how many of you have tried to be on a diet? How many of you have fallen off the diet? The person who decides to stick with his diet is just as mysterious as the person who decides to eat a hot fudge sundae for breakfast. I mean, you can't really explain why you do what you do. For example, if I said something really offensive up here, and you're angry at me, or you're angry that I'm telling you don't have free will, or was it did you decide to feel angry? If I told you 2 + 2 = 4, do you have the free will to decide to know that or to not know that? I mean, even if you choose not to know that, that's still a decision with its own set of consequences. Because everywhere you go with what you do, things will be wrong, and it starts with your fingers. I mean, just because we don't know where our decisions will come from, because it's completely blinded by an entire wilderness of prior consequences, genetics, and makeup, it doesn't mean that we're free to choose them. You had no other choice to think or do or react the way that you're reacting right now. So why does this matter? So determinism matters because let's take someone like Charles Whitman. In 1966, Charles Whitman went to the University of Austin and killed over 30 people from the observation deck. And later, after he was taken down by police, they found a note explaining that he had been having these long, aching pains in his brain, and that he has no idea where these feelings that he has is coming from. And this is a person that doesn't have much history of violence. But then they took an autopsy and found that there was a pecan-sized tumor in his amygdala, which regulates strong emotions in our fight or flight response. Is he really to blame for what he's done? It seems more or less he's a biological victim of the circumstance. And why this is important, determinism is really the antidote for hatred. Because when we realize that if I was replaced with him atom by atom and had the same experiences leading up to that situation, I would be him. There's no extra part of me that could have done differently than what he did. So by knowing this, I think it's important that we can have real discussions about mitigating risks, how do you engineer a society that's more safe and more healthy than what we currently have. I mean, think about it. Even though I'm not saying that we should release all criminals on the basis of mentally ill, we should still lock up these people because they're still dangerous to society. But punishing them or hating them because they deserve it doesn't make any sense. And if you'd like to, I know this is a very dense topic, and my goal was not to necessarily convince you of determinism, but to make you second guess the idea of having free will. And if you'd like to learn more about it, I'd highly recommend Sam Harris's book, Free Will, or his free lectures on the topic on YouTube. Thank you.